2023 shaped out to be a very good year for the crypto market, and we were here on the channel bringing you guys some of the biggest movers, including AVAX, Solana, Render, Bonk, Chainlink, and more. So to start off the new year, in today's video, we are going to bring you my top 3 coins for January of 2024. Now, before we hop into the content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor, nor do I offer any sort of financial advice on YouTube. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do find the videos informative and or entertaining, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turning the notification bell on so you can be notified when all of my latest videos go live. Also, Happy New Year's to everyone. I am wishing you all nothing but the best in this upcoming year. And I did miss my regularly scheduled upload for yesterday as I was celebrating. However, we are back today and we are going to continue posting daily for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into today's episode. And we're going to start off with altcoin number 3, which is none other than HBAR. So we can see here that despite the majority of the altcoin market having a pretty good year, HBAR is still very far down from its all-time highs, which were in and about the 50-cent range. It currently sits at about 9.5 cents. Now, if we take a look at the lows from HBAR, which came in at about 4 cents, it is up over double from that level. So still really not a bad performance if you were able to catch the bottom of this altcoin. However, it does still have a lot of room to run if you do believe it can reach its prior all-time highs here for the price action. So if we actually take a look at HBAR on the 1-year chart, the reason that I am bringing this up right now is because it has actually broken out above this yearly high that it put in last February. It was not able to reclaim ever since, and it is in fact making some fresh highs here to start off the new year. So this does look like a pretty clean breakout to me, and that is the reason HBAR is coming in at spot number 3. Now, besides from the price action, I mean, we've spoken about HBAR before, and the Hedera hash graph is definitely a very impressive blockchain in terms of the actual scalability. So far, there is over 4 million mainnet accounts created. It has handled about 17.9 million transactions in the past 24 hours. Takes about 3.5 seconds to consensus finality, and the average cost per transaction comes in at a quarter of a penny, 0.001 in average cost per transaction. And then the energy usage as well, which is important for institutional adoption and ESG scores. And taking a look as well at the actual governing council here, I want to pull this up for you guys because there are some heavy hitters on the Hedera Hashgraph Governing Council. Okay, we are talking about big players like Google. We got Chainlink Labs as well, Dell Technologies, IBM, LG, Ubisoft, ServiceNow, as well as Shinhan Bank and Standard Bank. They have also worked with a couple of central banks on stablecoin pilots. And not to mention here, we also do have FIS. I think this is Fidelity Information Services, if I'm not mistaken. So some very, very big names here on this list that are in fact backing Hedera. And yeah, this is definitely a project that I do have my eye on, especially considering that it was announced last year that HBAR actually rallied on the FedNow edition of Hedera-based app Drop. So the FedNow payment service is an instant settlement payment service from the Federal Reserve, and they did actually list Drop here on their website. So they say here, Drop offers a digital technology solution designed for merchants to accept payments at a very low cost. And how can Drop do this? Well, that is because Drop is actually built on top of the Hedera hash graph. So very big news to see that the Federal Reserve has adopted Drop, which is in fact tapping into the hash graph for instant settlement payments. And yeah, I mean, I think a big theme of the upcoming year and the upcoming bull run is going to be institutional adoption, tokenization, and I think that Hedera sits very well in these narratives. Now, once again, taking a look at the chart here, we can see that we have HBAR really was range bound between, let's call it 4.5 cents and about 9.5 cents, and it looks like it is finally poking its head above this resistance and may be ready for a nice breakout to the upside. And the way this chart actually looks at the moment, It reminds me of something like Chainlink, right? Like this is kind of what Chainlink looked like to me before its breakout. And we were talking about Chainlink here, at the bottom end of this range at $5. Also on the breakout here at about $9.50. And from there, this thing went on to rip all the way up to about $17 before topping out. So the H-bar chart looks to me like a very similar setup at the moment, and that's why it does come in at spot number 3. Now for spot number 2, we do have Crowcoin here, and this is currently sitting above the 10-cent level, which is also a very important area for this altcoin. Okay, if we take a look at this chart right here and take a look at the 1 year, and you're going to notice that, 10 cents is in fact a very important area for this project, which it is sitting above at the moment, kind of testing it as support. And if it can hold it, I do think this altcoin will also make a very nice move to the upside. So over the past year, Crowcoin is up about 77%. And from that bottom, it is also up just about double from that 5-cent bottom. And last year was a very good year for Crypto.com. Okay, they received regulatory approval in a ton of different jurisdictions where they will be operating in, and I think this positions them very well to really onboard the next wave of crypto users. And if they can incentivize their users to buy and hold Crowcoin, that should translate into some very good things for the project as well. And the Rewards Plus program that they launched last year, I think, was a very good beginning to this. So basically, this Rewards Plus program actually offers additional incentives to app users based on a couple of things, which is, one, the amount of trading volume that you use on the platform, the amount of money you use to buy and sell, that is. Number 2 is actually also the amount of Crow that you hold on the app. So maintaining a certain Crow balance does offer you some additional benefits, and these benefits are, pretty juicy ones, including additional crypto earn bonuses. You can get up to 10% per annum on stable coins, enjoy up to a 0.5% rebate on every single trade, and getting up to 8% back in Crow when using the Crypto.com Visa. Now, this is the big one for me, the Crypto.com Visa. This is the best crypto Visa, or one of the best on the market, in my opinion. And to actually get this Visa, you do have to purchase a certain amount of Crow, which is basically dictated by the tier that you actually want to unlock. And then you have to keep it locked up if you want to continue receiving these benefits. So I do think that the Visa is very good for Crypto.com for customer acquisition, as well as actually maintaining customers and keeping a holder base of Crow. Because if you actually choose to unstake your Crow after a 6-month unbonding period, I mean, you can see here the rewards basically get slashed. I mean, they're really not that great if you do unstake. So I think that was obviously a very intentional move by Crypto.com to actually get customers to buy Crow, lock it up for the Visa, and keep it locked up to continue enjoying these benefits. Now, aside from Crypto.com, Crowcoin does also power the Cronos POS chain and the Cronos EVM chain. Now, the Cronos POS chain, this is where you go for your yield. And the yield here is really not too shabby, coming in at about 7.62%. So if you are a holder of Crow, you are earning an additional 7% per year just for actually locking it up on the Cronos POS chain. And when I say locking it up, there is actually a 28-day unbonding period if you do want to unstake it. Once again, incentivizing people to lock up their Crow for that yield and keep it locked up to continue earning that passive income from this project. They did also announce the Cronos POS burns last year, and we actually just saw our first 50 million burn. Now the wallet here has already been filled up with another 10 million Crow worth just over 1 million US dollars. So we've already seen 5 mil USD worth of Crow burned, and we now have another 1 mil burned. And I believe that every 50 million Crow that does actually enter this wallet, more or less, is going to subsequently be burned in the future. So we have, the Crypto.com expansion, the Crypto.com Visa program, the Cronos POS burns, as well as the announcement here back in mid-December about the new Cronos hyperchain that is expected in June of this upcoming year. And I do think this could definitely be a very big catalyst for the project. So Cronos ZK EVM, let me actually find it here. I need to find exactly. Okay, so Chronos ZK EVM is going to be a Chronos hyperchain, basically like a layer 2 for Chronos, okay? And what it's basically going to do is allow for a lot more transactions per second there on the Chronos chain, which is basically going to make it easier to move liquidity back and forth between Ethereum and Chronos. So definitely keeping my eye on the launch of the Chronos ZK EVM, and I do think this is going to be a very big year for layer 2s, which is going to lead us into spot number 1. Actually, before we talk about that though, again, very similar to HBAR, I do want to just kind of zoom out and take a look at this chart here. So we can see here 10 cents historically has been a very important area of price action for CRO. This is where it sprangboard off before it went on that monster run from 10 cents up to about 95 cents. And yeah, if we can hold that once again, I mean, we can see here that the next area of big resistance comes in like the 17 to 20 cent range. So definitely keeping an eye on CRO coin to hold that 10 cent level as an area of support. Now coming in at spot number 1, we have Optimism, and I just picked Optimism because this is the layer 2 making new all-time highs at the moment. I mean, this is the one that I do think a lot of the attention is going to be on. This is where Coinbase actually did decide to build a base on. However, this spot number 1 could really extend to other layer 2s, including both Matic and Arbitrum. And the reason I am focusing on layer 2s is because of the EIP 4844 upgrade that is coming to Ethereum this year. It is effectively going to make layer 2s a lot more scalable. And I think the last year, the big narrative was around alt layer 1s, and ETH actually was a laggard. Excuse me. So I do actually think that this year may actually in fact be the ETH catch-up trade, which we did speak about in late December, and so far it does look like that is playing out. It's definitely too early to call, but I think that ETH has been a laggard over the past year, and that we may actually see some catch-up here for Ethereum and its surrounding ecosystem. And I do think that EIP 4844 could be the catalyst to make this happen, as it is in fact labeled the scalability killer, expected to increase Ethereum's TPS to around 100,000. So in comparison, the Ethereum base layer processes about 15 transactions per second, and layer 2 rollups process around 100 transactions per second. This was as of Q1 2023, and these are rough estimates, but to go from 100 TPS to around 100,000 is a very big deal for the scalability of Ethereum. And I mean, that's really like the number one bear case right now that people are talking about, is that ETH is not scalable, that, you know, you can just go to an alt layer 1 for more transactions than some of the layer 2s. And EIP 4844 would pretty much negate this argument completely through the introduction of proto-dank sharding. And basically what this will do is introduce a new transaction type called blob carrying transactions, which are regular transactions but with added pieces of information known as blobs. And yeah, it's really confusing and technical, but all you have to basically know is that what this will basically do, blobs are larger in size, but unlike blocks that are stored forever and visible to the EVM, blobs are only available for a short period of time and are not visible to the EVM, which does actually help clearing up block space, okay? So, or actually blob space, which is much cheaper than block space. So a lot of technical jargon, but all you have to know on the front end is that it is going to make layer 2s cheaper and faster to transact with. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be very good for the Ethereum ecosystem, and something that I do think could be a big narrative moving into 2024. On top of that, there is also, you know, the Bitcoin spot ETF. I think that once that gets approved, which I do think is like a 98% chance of getting approved this year, probably even this month, to be honest, I think the next big focus will be on an Ethereum spot ETF, and that could drive a ton of attention back to this ecosystem as well as the layer 2s. So let me know if you guys do want to see my top 5 list for 2024 as a whole, but this was my top 3 coins for January of this month. I hope you enjoyed the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.